do you think God cares about how this ball was made? Is he bothered that kids are making soccer balls instead of going to school? Is he bothered that families put in long hours but don't earn enough to meet their basic expenses? I think we get some answers from Paul's first letter to the Corinthians. Here's something he has to say in chapter 9. Who serves as a soldier at his own expense? Who plants a vineyard and does not eat of its grapes? Who tends a flock and does not drink of the milk? Do I say this merely on human authority? Doesn't the law say the same thing? For it's written in the law of Moses, do not muzzle an ox while it's treading out the grain. Is it about oxen that God's concerned? Surely he says this for us, doesn't he? Yes, this was written for us because when farmers plough and thresh, they should be able to do so in the hope of sharing in the harvest. This is part of a wider discussion about the payment of Christian leaders. And in the course of that discussion, these verses show a simple principle, that all people have a right to a fair and decent return on their labour, that they deserve to earn enough that enables them to flourish. Think about what Paul's saying here. Soldiers expect to share in the spoils of war. Farmers expect to share in the harvest. Pastoralists expect to share in what their animals produce. If you put the labour in, you should expect a return. He illustrates this with his teaching about the ox. He refers to that verse in the Old Testament law that says, do not muzzle the ox while it's treading out the grain. Now think about that. You're a farmer, you provide your ox with food at night when the work's finished. But now during the day while your ox is supposed to be working, you see him stop, bend his head and start eating your profits. You want to put a muzzle on that ox. You want him to stop eating and keep working. But no, says God, you let him eat. The ox is working hard, so he deserves better than the feed you'll give him at the end of the day. The ox deserves better than a miserable existence making money for you. He deserves to be well satisfied. He deserves to flourish. And if that's true for the ox reasons, Paul, how much more true for human beings? So what's that got to do with soccer balls? Not only with soccer balls, but with all those products we buy from the developing world, the t-shirts and TVs and iPods and chocolates and coffee and seafood and all the rest. I think the point of the passage is pretty clear. The people making those things deserve a decent wage, that they have a right to share in the fruits of their labour, that they deserve a wage that enables them to flourish, that God doesn't want them to eke out a miserable existence. If God doesn't want the ox to eke out a miserable existence while producing for the farmer, how is it then that we tolerate a system where humans are trapped in poverty while producing for us? If that family making soccer balls in Meerut is to flourish, shouldn't the adults earn enough to allow the family to eat, to pay for medicines, to access clean water, to educate their kids, to take time out to rest? And if that little boy is to flourish, shouldn't he be in school instead of stitching soccer balls? At the moment, vast numbers of people making our stuff are simply eking out a miserable existence. Work hasn't become a pathway out of poverty for them, it's become a dead end. But isn't flourishing what God wants for every one of them?